Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning! Welcome to a story of mild disappointment, but honestly, I guess it's fine. So we've got the Front Mission 3 remake. Okay, it's weird because in many ways, it's a fine enough remake. It actually kind of makes me think of back in the PSP days, where we'd see a lot of different remakes, simply of the variety where it seems like they just kind of did what they could in Unity or something. And technically, it's a visual improvement, but there's some asterisks to it. It kind of makes me think of like, God, I forget the names of some of them, but like I guess you could say what happened with the third Persona game, and like when they put it on PSP, technically speaking, it was just fine. It was the original game, but they switched everything to a bit more of a sort of flat presentation, as it were. Now, I will say, on the one hand, it's cool to see that they still brought back the email and everything. For another thing, I am going to definitely miss stuff like here. Let's see if we can find it here. Stuff like the original version of this UI, which was so definitively 90s. It's not even funny. Like it basically, like it looked like this. Like this was the most like 90s AOL days kind of situation ever, and I loved that because it worked really well for the setting here. Because it's meant to, it's kind of futuristic, kind of still kind of retro. They've got emails around, but again, they're very kind of AOL days kind of a situation, if that makes sense. That they felt very surprisingly behind the times and ahead of the times at the same time. It was a very particular vibe to this game in that respect. Anyways, that being said, a couple of interesting details that they added, like they added face animations to all the people. Okay, fair enough. And they seem to have redone all these scenes, though I will say, again, for the sake of comparison, yeah, the old stuff looks gritty, grainy, and whatever else, but I don't know. To me, it looked a bit more alive. Usually, I'm on the total opposite end of this whole thing of defending a remake that tried to do something new. But in this particular case, I don't know. It felt like a lot of the visuals of the older one here seemingly had more detail to it. Like, this seems weirdly washed out. And I think part of it was just it kind of made you think that there was more details when stuff was, I guess you could say, a bit more crunchy on something like the PS1. Like a lot of old PS1 games just had that certain mystique to them. Now, that being said, it seems like everything else is going to be more or less directly one-to-one. Like, we haven't really seen any mechanical changes. It seems like the scenes, choices, everything else are just going to directly be a carryover. Fair enough. All right, that's all well and good. There's one very, 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 very strange omission, and I'm hoping it won't show an ad here. Like, I love how they redid the transitions. I love how the zooming in and out is working, a bit more crispy and all that. But I will say, one of those things that was very important to this particular game is this right here. When a unit gets taken out, it gets, like, dramatically thunder-dunked out of existence. Like, when somebody's getting, like, gunned down in their mech and whatnot, like, it's a very RoboCop-esque experience. For those that have never watched the original 80s RoboCop, go do it, because that first scene alone describes everything you need to know about what you were there for with the Front Mission 3 combat to begin with, because you were there to see stuff get torn to shreds in very dramatic fashion. Okay, I'm just gonna show this video from like a week ago, just for showing this off. Like, you saw little details in the combat here, like if somebody's firing a machine gun and let's say their knees get hit, they'll buckle a little bit as they stagger forward, or they'll react to an arm getting blown off or something like that. It was subtle, it wasn't exactly a huge deal, but look at this, like it just goes into split screen, you see like they're going and they're reacting to every single shot, and that feels very punchy. Now, for the sake of comparison, we're about to get into a similar situation over here in this remake. I will say, before we get into that, design-wise, I'm okay with the designs on these mechs. They're basically the same ones, just looking a bit cleaner. Though, one thing that is worth mentioning is that it looks so much more stiff. It's weird. Like, pay attention to the original. Like, they are constantly moving around. They're just jiving in their robots. They're constantly dancing around. There's a lot of kind of little personality to all their animations and stuff. What's weird is that they kept some of that for the remake, but like when they're just standing around, they're not dancing in their robots anymore. Like, I get it, it's a bit more realistic, but also kind of lame, dude. We were here for the dancing robots. For another thing, though, Pay attention to the ways that they fire their guns, because they still kept the old victory animations. Like, they'll still take the time to go do victory poses in their frickin' mechs, which is goofy next to the suddenly, like, more, just, like, more realistic way that they handle things. Like, right over here, before they would turn and face and everything else, and here they're just barely moving. Like, they'll do the occasional moving their arms around thing, but it's more robotic. It is a robot game. But they were way more emotive before, and usually, you know, I get it. You know, they're trying to go for the newer thing. They're trying to improve it. I don't know if that was really worth improving. It was hilarious, sure, but every part of this situation is goofy. Like, in the grand scheme of things, when going and comparing with other SRPGs and stuff like that, these things are some of the worst war machines ever created. Like, just on pure skills and whatever else, like, just standard infantry in most other SRPGs could probably win this. Hell, you can pop out of your mech and actually win a fight versus a Lancer in a lot of good situations. They're really bad as far as being a weapon goes. But, like, look at this. They're just like, they just pop out their arm and just shoot it. When something dies, let's go back to that for a second. Let's go back and appreciate how shitty that looks, okay? So, okay, they're not even moving. They're taking the time. I want to emphasize this. They are taking the time to stop and spin around. They're taking the time to have a slower walking animation than they used to before, because before it was like, doo, 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 doo. Like, they were into it. Here, okay, the fight ends, and they're taking the time to do the extra spin with none of the extra, like, stuff. Like, there was a bit more animation to the PS1 version. They were still moving around. It was like they were catching their breath afterwards. Here, they kept the pause, but they're just stiff and standing there. Like, be in awe of our Unity engine-looking thing, you know? Anyways, though, look at this, though. Because this is going to be the start of the kind of minor gripes about this. Look at that firing animation, dude. That is some... What is that firing animation? Like, they take, again, the time to still do their thing, except he no longer does the thumbs down. He just kind of holds it out stiff in front of him without moving. The thing explodes into what looks like giblets from friggin' Quake or something. Just, again, why does it... How are you doing that? Let's go back to the previous one for comparison. Look at that. Look at that. They get taken out, they fall down, they explode. This is a different enemy type, but this applies to the Lancers as well. Here, let's go back a little bit farther. But, like, they fired at them, they're exploding, they're staggering back, they're blown off into pieces. Badass, right? You're there for the carnage. You're not there to go look at the clean train on the other train track, but here they go, they blow it up, and boom, it's giblets. Yay! No dramatic explosion or anything. Like, he does the thing. He does the arm swing out. He doesn't do the thumbs down anymore. Yes, it looked stupid. Do it anyway, damn it! No one was playing this because it was not taking itself seriously enough. Like, bear in mind, in this particular scenario in the story, this guy just, like, didn't get a response from his sister, so he decided to go launch an attack on the army with a stolen mech he was supposed to be testing. Like, dude. This guy's a complete lunatic, okay? Nothing that they do in this game ever makes sense. You're here because the robot carnage kicks ass, not because this story made any sense whatsoever. Why does that firing animation suck so bad? Why is it just giblets? We're about to see them actually going into get into a proper fight with the army guys here. Because, like, this particular route through the main story is just some Beavis and Butthead logic going through the start. Because, like, they go and they rush into the base and they're like, oh no, the guns must be malfunctioning. It can't be because we're just trespassing. So they start attacking the random installations, at which point the army shows up. Like, wait a minute, they just don't understand. We gotta blow up their mechs to make them understand. Okay, couple more notes right here. Did you see any reaction from this thing whatsoever to getting just sprayed with shots? It's just numbers flying away. Even Borderlands had more reactions to stuff than this. They're flapping their arms out slightly. It just dings off completely. Like, they don't look like they're taking hits that would blow them up. They just kind of, like, get water pistoled until they don't exist anymore. Why does that animation suck so bad? Normally I would be here just kind of being happy at the fact that this came to a newer generation and stuff, but, like, dude, why does it look so bad? Anyway, like, what is that? That didn't look like an impact thing whatsoever. There we go. He's finally doing the pose. He has his proper pose. He puts his gun in there and stuff. Where's the thumbs down? Why don't we get the thumbs down anymore? Again, it's goofy. This game always was goofy. It was never not goofy. That firing animation continues to suck. Not to mention the contrast on the numbers, just kind of like... Again, let's compare. Let's compare. I just have this thing looping around, by the way. So, like, let's say when they were hit before, right? The numbers were relatively thin, so they tended to just kind of be relatively unobtrusive. In this case, they're, like, ginormous and chunky. Also, sorry, random ads. Okay, had some ads that decided to take place here. What I was trying to show is that those numbers are ginormous. You can barely see the mech behind the numbers anymore. Meanwhile, again, back in the original, unobtrusive numbers. They show up, they're thin, they fly away, they're like wisps of smoke, not an entire smoke screen in front of the thing you're shooting at. Like, I don't know if it was just there to cover up the surprisingly shitty animations, but I'm assuming this is what happened with when people were upset about From Mission 1 and 2. Now, I know I've been really negative on this thing. Look, I'm still glad that this is coming to new systems. This is a great game anyway, but, like, I know if I were to write, like, even if right now, like, let's say my kiddos were curious about this, like, my daughter will randomly just pick something out of my strategy games and be like, hey, you know, teach me this. If I were to give her a version, I would still pick the PS1 version here, because as much as this looks shinier, this doesn't look nearly as satisfying. This looks super stiff. So here, hold on. Let's see. Do we get to see any of the winds are falling down animations yet? We had some of those earlier. Hold on. Let's see. Back at the test facility here. We should see them right hereabouts. There we go. When they have the fight itself. Like, look at this. This was the first moment I looked at it, and it just started getting me a bit upset. Like, mildly upset. It's really not a big deal. At least it's coming back, I guess. It's just disappointing that that's the animations they went with. Because it seems like, visually speaking, they did do some work to make everything, you know, stick out as far as the maps go. The maps look pretty. I don't really appreciate the background scenes that much, but again, it's like a lot of PSP ports. That animation just sucks so bad. It's genuinely upsetting. Because that looks placeholder as hell. Like, we'll go back to compare with the original animation in a moment, but, like, again, just, like, nothing's happening there. It's... I mean, what's funny is that it's not even necessarily more practical or anything. The main reason that we kind of, you know, hold arms out is just because of how our arms work. You put two together, it's a bit more steady, and it gets it a bit more accurate there. In the case of a robot, like, yeah, with the shotgun, that's fine. With the machine gun thing, just, like, hip-fire that thing. You're a robot. They did originally. But, like, we're going to look at the death animations for this thing to show what I was talking about with those giblets. It's like, here we go. They go, and they do their thing, and they go for the fist instead of the shotgun, which would have gotten them a better score here, but whatever. So they punch it, and it just catches fire and goes poof, and it's giblets. Again, for comparison. Right? Let's go find one of these exploding mechs. Okay, right, he goes up, he takes the shot. Takes a second, hip fires that thing, to some degree, with one arm, looks badass as hell, fires in the face, falls down, explosions, fire everywhere, victory pose. Like, come on, yes, it looks goofy, but this is, again, like, RoboCop logic. That's what this game was basically like the RoboCop game that we never got at the time. Like, just like blowing parts off of stuff, getting better scores as you blew more parts off of stuff. You were there for the carnage. Like, you weren't there to go see the pretty models and whatever else. Which even then, I don't know. Like, this did not, like, look at that. Same animation more or less when it came to the shotgun. Let's see if we can find. Like, there we go. Now we get some machine gun animations. Like, he pulls back, he like hip fires that thing again. Tell me how that's not way the hell cooler. I mean, I appreciate some of the new weapon designs. Some of them. New standard machine gun is disgusting. I hate it. But, like, original machine gun, to be fair, was just you were putting a friggin', like, what was it, a Mac 10 or whatever else in the hands of a giant robot. Again, goofy, but I'm here for it. But yeah, like, and this wasn't really slow either, was the thing. Like, yeah, technically it's somewhat slow-ish, but just watching these slow-mo kill animations looked just friggin' cool as hell, man. So I guess time will tell whether there's maybe a bit more as far as the skill animations and stuff like that. Like we haven't seen any of those triggering yet. But yeah, dude, I those animations bother me a lot. I see the thing is normally I would say, hey, look, guys, they'll probably fix this by release. Surely somebody would fix this by release. Apparently, the same thing happened with Front Mission 1 and 2, and they never did. So disappointing. I hope they fix it. Um, yeah, this stiff as hell animation is quite the bummer. Um, Again, no skin off my back, I guess, but I hate that. I like the design on the new basic shotgun, though. That's or I guess tier 2 shotgun. That's all right. But yeah, that's awful. That looks really bad. Like, it's not even necessarily that it makes them animate less. That was a choice. Like, they changed their stance, they changed everything about themselves. They just wanted it to look more robotic, which again is fair. It's a robot game, but it still looks bad. And especially this death animation is pretty awful, and I'm still upset at the fact that they decided not to demo getting both of their arms blown off with a shotgun blast here. Because at that point, that 33 and the 108 wouldn't have stood a chance. They would have probably, well, depending on RNG, they would have blown off the legs or still gotten a kill anyway. It would have looked way cooler. But they went for the fist, essentially changing it to a 1 in 4 chance that they would even get the kill in the first place. Go for the close-range shotgun, man! What are you doing? Anyway, okay, so that's enough of that. That's kind of my ramble for the day. Yeah, what do you guys think? Because I'm glad it's coming out on Switch. I just hate the visuals outside of the maps. I like the way that the maps look. I like the designs of some of the weapons. You might, okay, so I want to mention cutscene skip. Technically it's in here. It also was not necessarily missing in the previous version. Actually, the original Front Mission 3 was one of the rare cases of a sort of pseudo cutscene skip, where if you just kind of held down the button, it would just turbo past all of the cutscenes. So it mostly had those because you constantly have decisions through the story. So you could just kind of zoom through your different decisions and whatnot. But yeah. I mean, I hope it'll at least get more folks into this game and stuff. It's just a bummer that the animation sucks so bad. Alright, that's about that. You'll have yourselves a good one. Take care. Bye.